once in a while call Mr. Las Vegas. My real name is Wayne Newton, and you're listening to my good friend and favorite DJ, the only DJ my friend Elvis would approve of, Jimmy.
And I have Donna Presley on the show along with Tom Payton, my co-host. Hi, Donna Presley. How are you?
Oh,
Welcome, Donna. Welcome.
Hi, Jimmy. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, so great to have you on the show. So great to meet you. Of course, you are Elvis Presley's first cousin, right? Donna Presley. And I could tell us a little bit about the genealogy of Elvis Presley and how you became his first cousin.
Okay. Well, my mom, Nash, and Elvis's father, Vernon, were brother and sister. She was the baby of the siblings. Mm-hmm. And she was 9 years old when Elvis was born, and they lived next door to each other. And so, you know, they played together and they grew up basically together. And, they remained so loving and so close all through Elvis's life. And, I spent all my summers at Graceland from the time I was 10 years old. And then when I turned 17, Elvis bought the Circle G Ranch. And my dad started working for him. And so we moved on to the ranch and lived there from 67 to 69. And when he decided to sell the ranch, he moved us all up to the grounds of Graceland. And we lived right in the house. So I was at Graceland every single day,
Wow.
Yeah. It was
amazing.
amazing.
Tell us what that was like. That must have been fun for you.
It was fun. My mom used to say when Elvis was at home, it was controlled chaos because you never knew what it was. But you always knew it was going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, tell us about some of the things that he enjoyed. I mean, of course, he loved the horses. He had like 14 horses, right? All beautiful horses.
Loved the horses, loved riding the golf cart around. And he had go-karts. And so, he and the guys would ride round and round, the driveway there. And I remember one time he was on a go-kart, and me and my mother and grandmother were all sitting out on the front porch watching him. And he had a scarf around his neck, and all of a sudden the scarf, because it was blowing back because he was going so fast, got caught on the motor behind. And she I can't watch. He's going to kill himself. So it was fun. He was always doing something. And this just crazy. I remember one night, my dad every summer would, have a garden, a vegetable garden back behind the house there, or behind where we lived. And so he would get up every day and tend to it. And about 3:00 one morning, my mom woke him up. She said, "Earl, you don't have to get up early to tend the garden." And he said, "Why not?" She said, "Because Elvis just destroyed it."
That's so great.
Just pure fun. And he loved having a good time and, shooting fireworks at the guys, they did that. And one time it was Christmas time. Of course, all the ladies, we all stayed inside, out of the danger zone. But one year it was at Christmas time, and my mom had just bought my dad a new leather coat. So Elvis bundled up several of those Roman candles and lit them and stuck it in my dad's new jacket.
Oh, boy.
Well, it caught on fire. My dad was coming out of the jacket, and Elvis was just laughing, So not to be outdone, my dad shot a Roman candle at him, and it hit him on the neck.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, burned him. So he had to delay filming one of his movies because, it had to heal.
Yeah. Didn't he almost set Graceland on fire at one point?
Yes, a couple of times.
The fire department had to come out. I'm sure they must have been surprised.
Come out and they'd put out, whatever it was, and he'd stand there and talk to them and sign autographs, and it was great fun. And he always made it fun, no matter what it was.
Sure,
absolutely. What are your favorite memories of the Circle G Ranch? I love that place. I've been there. Actually, I walked around the grounds. And of course the house is still there. It's all boarded up now. But tell us about some of your favorite memories there.
Well, we'd ride horses and it was just a great, calm, wonderful place to be. It was beautiful, and Elvis loved it. I remember looking out the window. I think it was March of 67. Mm-hmm. It snowed really, really deep. I think I'm correct there on that. And he had a tractor and had one of the canoes, or one of the little boats that were in the lake there behind it, and he was pulling a whole bunch of people through the snow. So whatever it was, he made it fun. If it tore something up, that's okay.
Wow, that's great. Is it true that he lost his wedding ring there somewhere on the grounds? No one ever found it, right?
That's correct.
That's right.
If they found it, they've not told anybody.
Yeah. And I think Billy the Spa guy, who was just on with us last week, he said he's going to get out there with a metal detector. He's going to.
Yeah.
I've told many times, but as far as I know, no one's ever found it. But yeah, he certainly did. So it was just one of those things.
Yeah. Tom Payton, what do you have for Donna Presley?
Well, first thing, Donna, thank you for being with us. And I want to promote your book, and I hope everybody can see it.
Oh, thank you.
It's a wonderful book that Donna wrote, and it is so candid and frank about Elvis. But what I loved about it was the fact that you talk about Elvis not as this superstar icon, but rather a man who lived by faith, family, and love. Can you talk a little bit about that, Donna, please?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been to many, many concerts of Elvis's, and you'd see people that throw a crown on stage and say, "You're the king, you're the king." And
Right.
I've seen him stop it many, many times and say, "Look, there's only one king, and that's the Lord Jesus Christ."
Mhm.
But he always stood up for his faith in God. He stood up for his family values, and for, he served his country, and he was kind and loving and respectful to all people. If he walked in a room, it didn't matter if there was, a CEO of the company was, one end. He went all the way around the room, but then go to the CEO. He made sure he spoke to everybody and was kind to everybody.
Right.
And so loving and giving. And I've heard him say several times, he said, I've been so blessed by God that I would be remiss if I didn't give back. So his generosity, of course, knew no bounds. It didn't matter what you wanted or what you needed. He would give it. And if he didn't want accolades for it or praise.
Right.
As a matter of fact, that embarrassed him if you thanked him too much for something. Thank you once, but that's enough. Don't do it again. He was just like that. And he was just, he read the Bible every day, and
Right. So, yeah.
Assembly God minister.
Mhm.
And when he found out that she'd gone into the ministry, he wanted to help her with that, because he wanted to help promote, the Lord and what all that the Lord could do for people if they would just allow him to come into their hearts and their lives and live for him. And so he bought 4 acres of ground in Walls, Mississippi, and he helped Mom obtain a metal building to go on it.
Wow.
And then one night he called over and he said, "Aunt Nash, I want to give you a car." And she said, "Well, honey, you gave me a car last night." He said, No, that was a family car, which was a Mark IV Lincoln. He said, "I want you to have a car that's just yours, just for your ministry. You need that."
Right.
Oh, he said, "Come go with me." So he and my mom and several guys went up to a Pontiac dealership in Memphis. And he steps out on the car lot, and he's holding my mom's hand. He said, "Okay, Aunt Nash, pick one." And she said, "No, honey, if you want me to have this car, you're going to pick it." So hand in hand, they walk around the car lot, and he sees this Grand Prix Pontiac, and it's a powder blue with white leather interior and a white Landau top. So he opens the door and he has her sit down in it, and he kneels down on the ground beside her, and he says a prayer. And when he stands up, he said, "This is the one." And so, she had that for, just for her ministry. And then a couple of nights later, he calls her over and said, "Aunt Nash, do you have a piano, for your church?"
Right.
"Well, no, not yet, honey." And, "Well, come go with me." He takes her into the music room, and everybody knows about the gold piano that Priscilla had gold leaf for him for their anniversary.
Beautiful piano.
Yeah, it was fabulous. Grand piano, huge, and everything. And so he says, "Well, now you have a piano." So the next day, my dad, being a man of all trades, could do anything. I thought, well, why should Elvis have to spend money for a piano mover? So he wraps this gold leafed grand piano, which is like, I think, 9 foot long, and puts it on the bucket of a tractor and takes it down the drive, there at Graceland, out onto Elvis Presley Boulevard, down to Mississippi, up on the hill where my mom's church sit.
Wow.
And so he was sitting there looking at the piano in the bucket and the church. And my mom says, well, Earl, can you take down a wall and put the piano in and put the wall back up? He said, yes, I could do that, but then you wouldn't have any place to sit because. So anyway, takes it back down the hill, down Elvis Presley Boulevard, and back up on the hill at Graceland. And so she goes over that night and she says, Elvis? And he said, yes, Aunt Nash. And she said, you know that piano you gave me? He said, yes. She said, well, it's too big for my church. Do you mind if I trade it for something that, was smaller? He said, Aunt Nash, I gave that to you. You can burn it if you want to. It's your. So she goes to a music store in Memphis, and she trades it straight across the board for a spinet piano. Now, my mother was a lot like Elvis in the aspect that money meant nothing to her except what she could do for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, she just traded straight across the board. I later found out it was sold to a private collector. I heard for $2 million. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Probably.
there went my inheritance,
Right. It was in the Country Music Hall of Fame for a while, right? And now I think it's down in Florida. Last I heard, I'm not sure.
That's what I was fixing to say. Was it set in the Country Music Hall of Fame for a long time with the story running with it. And then, of course, it was bought and sent elsewhere. But it's an amazing story, so heartfelt and so, heartwarming, just to show you what he was like and how he felt about things. And, he just wanted to help her with the ministry.
Yeah. He was all about family, wasn't he? I mean, he loved family. He loved being around family and friends. That's where he felt most comfortable, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because, he came in, I was spending the night at Graceland one night with my grandmother. And he walked in. Grandma had gone into the kitchen for something. And so he walked in, and I was sitting in the chair watching some television. And comes over in front of my chair, and he sits down in the floor. And he's talking to me about, well, tell me, Donnie, which is what he always called me, what do you want to do when you graduate high school? Who are you dating? All those kind of things. Just wanting to know about me. And I told him, I said, well, I really, really don't know what I want to do, Elvis. Right now I'm just kind of weighing my options, so to speak. And he said, well, let me tell you something. He said, I want you to know that you can do anything you want to do and be anything you want to be if you remember these 4 things. And I said, okay, what are they? And he said, always have faith in God. Always have faith in yourself. Always be willing to work hard for what you want. And never let anyone tell you that you cannot accomplish your dreams, because I'm living proof that you can.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And which I've adhered to that my whole life. But he also told me something that, you have to realize that fame and fortune can be a two-edged sword at times.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you got the fame, you got the money, and all that to go with that. But then again, like he told me, he said, that same night he was sitting there, he said, Donnie, I really envy you. And I kind of laughed, I said, why would you envy me, Elvis? I said, you're Elvis, and he said, well, because if you meet a guy and he asks you out on a date, or if you meet somebody that wants to be, a girl that wants to be your friend, it's because they like you. They really want to be around you. And he said, I don't have that luxury. I never know if someone's with me because I'm Elvis or because I'm Elvis Presley.
Right.
And then I realized at that time how difficult that could be, that on one side of the coin, you got everything basically, but on the other side, it can be very, very lonely at times, and you know who you can really believe in and trust. But he always knew that he could trust his family. He always knew that we would be there, that we would love him, whether he was Elvis or Elvis Presley. And if it all went away tomorrow for him, we would still be there and still love him. So we kept grounded. We kept him where we were his safety net, because he always knew to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Congratulations also on the re-release of your book. I know you were just at the Tiger Man Karate Dojo signing the book. Tell us about the book. You're co-written. Your mom was co-writer of the book, right? And you co-wrote the book with her.
Right.
Tell us about the book, and I know you added a lot of new stories and stuff, right?
Yes. Well, it's called One Flower While I Live. And Mom wrote it in 1987, and she said she wanted people to know Elvis the person, not the icon or the superstar. And so, because she was 9 years old when Elvis was born and lived next door to him, she talks about that. So, in the book, it actually takes you from the day of Elvis's birth up until after his death.
Oh,
and
wow.
you hear the childhood stories and the fun that they had and the things that they did. And, when he was 3 years old, sitting on the front porch, and he told Mom, he said, Aunt Nash, one of these days, buy my mom and dad a big house and lots of cars. We all know that happened, but he's done it for so many other people as well. But just it's a great book. It's all about faith. It's all about family and what, the type of family that we had and how we love each other and how faith was our foundation and always has. Mm-hmm. And Elvis grew up in that. And the same people that taught Elvis to be the man that he was raised me. So I know those core values. I know what that faith is because I live it every day of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a great book. How can we get the book?
Right.
All you have to do is go to DonnaPresley.com and you can email me. It has my email address on there. You just email me. We'll get it going.
Another great book I just picked up, actually, the Presley Family and Friends Cookbook. I love this book. It's such a great book. So many great recipes in here, so many great stories. Tell us about, what did Elvis like to eat? What was his favorite dishes?
Well, I mean, goodness, he had, it changed, and of course, everybody knows the peanut butter banana sandwiches. Right. Everybody knows about the banana pudding and things like that. But he liked, things like meatloaf or hamburgers and fries. I mean, it's just things that every Southerner grows up with, right. Those kind of things. And, so he had, great cooks there at Graceland, and they were amazing, and they would feed everybody, so it was just a great time and great family time. And he was just a good old Southern boy, and he was an ordinary man, but he was touched by God to do extraordinary things.
Yeah. Did he really eat those peanut butter and banana sandwiches we hear so much about?
Have you ever tried them?
I did. Every time I'm down in Memphis, I actually have them. They're my favorite. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, they are good.
How often did he actually eat them, though?
Yes, he did eat them. He actually did eat them, and they're extremely good. They're extremely messy, but they're extremely good. So
extremely good. Yeah. Yeah, and I read in your book that he used to use a knife and a fork to eat those.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow. Awesome. And also you have the saucy baked beans recipe in there, right? Wow. Did he like baked beans?
All kinds of recipes in there. So, and you can order that book through Turner Publishing.
Yeah, and also Amazon. That's where I got it. So it's available on Amazon as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great book. So I urge everybody to go out and get it. It's the Presley Family and Friends Cookbook. So many great stories, so many great recipes. If you're an Elvis fan, you're gonna love this book. And also, Tom, tell her about the book that you have.
Yes, no, this is, as I said, it's great. And thank you for writing this book.
Oh, thank you.
One of the things that struck me, Donna, was, people often talk about Elvis's mother and the relationship that he had with his mother. But I don't think people realize, Elvis was born a twin, and his twin died, unfortunately, and was stillborn. So the family was celebrating one life and yet mourning another life.
That's very,
how that affected his mother and how she became, somewhat overprotective, but completely understandable.
Oh, absolutely.
She had lost one child and was concerned about her other child, right?
Absolutely. I mean, he was born in 1935,
right.
And, back then, I think that probably as a mother, she probably felt maybe what did I do that
exactly.
So you lose one child, and you've got this beautiful, perfect child left, and you can never have any more children. You're going to cling to that child and
right.
Be extremely protective. I mean, even today, I mean, my oldest son is 6'2", and I was driving in the car, and he was sitting with me, and I slammed on my brakes, and I put my arm out, to protect him. He looked at me and said, "Mom, really? What's that little bitty arm going to do?" But really, I mean, that was the kind of,
sure.
It was just, it's a mother's instinct to protect the child, no matter what the age or anything else. And knowing that was, he was her whole life as he was Uncle Vernon's. And, I'm glad that you brought that up, and the fact that they were so close. But,
right.
people don't realize how close he was to Uncle Vernon too, and that they had a fabulous relationship, had such a great love and deep respect for each other. And literally, when Elvis passed away, and I know this for a fact because I started working for Uncle Vernon in 1970. And because, besides being around him quite a bit before that, but I was with him every day during that time. Literally, it was like he was, every time he took a breath, it was like he was taking his last. So, for all basic purposes, when Elvis died, Uncle Vernon died that day too. He was just walking around.
Yeah, we hear so much about Vernon, and the movie. Tell us about the Elvis movie, because they didn't portray him so well in there, right?
Oh, I was so upset about that. You have no idea. Yeah, I mean, that was totally and completely fabricated. Vernon was not like that at all. In the movie, they made him out to be this weak-minded, mealy-mouthed, mousy person that just all money. And that is so far from truth. He was very strong and very, he wasn't afraid to give you his opinion. And the only thing he cared about for money was just to protect Elvis. It wasn't like he was wanting for himself. He just wanted to protect his son because he lived through the Depression, so he knew what that was. It could be long. But that made me very angry and very upset, and I cried all the way through the film. I said I never watched it again.
Yeah. What did you think of the way they portrayed Colonel Parker? Did you know Colonel Parker?
Yeah.
Twice, as the only times that I ever met him. But he was very kind of boisterous and in my opinion, kind of, I don't know, kind of over,
Right, yeah.
Exactly. But, I wasn't that impressed. That's what I can say.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
he seemed like he was almost like a bully to me, but that might have been just my opinion,
I have to ask you about Austin Butler. How close did he come to Elvis's persona?
Well, I think Austin did a tremendous job. That's one thing that I can say about the film that I did like.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he looked nothing like him, of course, but he studied the man. He studied Elvis and the nuances and the stance and the way he did his hands. So you could tell that he had absolutely immersed himself in Elvis, and he did a really good job. He did.
Yeah, and also I want to talk about Elvis's love for the fans. He loved the fans so much, and a lot of times when he was out of town, he would often let people go up to see the house, which is pretty awesome.
Yes, it is. It is, and that's the thing is, Elvis appreciated and loved his fans. He knew, and I've heard him say this myself, they put me on this hill, they can take me off this hill. Always love and protect and respect the fans because they loved and respected and still do to this day. They're the most faithful and loyal fans that you'll ever find in this world for anybody.
Yeah. Didn't he often say that to Uncle Vester too? Because Uncle Vester was at the gate and he said, "Man, make sure you treat those people well because they put me up on this hill, right?"
Sure. And Uncle Vester was great on, being at the gate. He was very personable. He was very funny, and he's very open and gregarious. And so, the fans absolutely loved him, and he was awesome. He really was.
Yeah, the very first time I went to Graceland, he was still there. He was still working there.
Wow.
And that was the I think that was the last year, the very first time I visited Graceland, that he was actually there. But it was so awesome because he had a book out as well, and he would sign the book.
Yes.
Yeah, great guy.
It was just, and the thing of it is, everybody in the family that we've written, that those of us who have written books, it's just because we want you to know Elvis. We want you to know what he was like and what our family was like. And, how our grandmother, Dodger, I mean, she was the most amazing woman. And Elvis and I worshiped her as all the grandchildren. But I remember one night at the dinner table, we were all sitting around and my grandmother said, I've got 5 children. I've got so many grandchildren and great grandchildren. But I have to be honest, Donnie and Elvis are my favorites.
Wow, that's
over
great.
well with the others. But, we gave her so much love and so much attention. And I would go and stay with her in the summertime. And, I remember when I was about 15 or 16, Elvis, my mom and dad had come to pick me up, take me back to Missouri, which is where I was born.
Right.
And so he took me and my mom and dad into the dining room and he sat down. He said, "Aunt Nash, Uncle Earl," he said, "we just love having Donnie here. It's great having her, and it's great having her here for Grandma. And I'm gone a lot, so I know Dodger would love having her here. We just want her to move in with us and live with us. You can come visit her whenever you want to, and I'll send her to school, and I'll buy her a car."
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, Yes.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
My dad, I think my dad would be okay with it, but my mom goes, no. And now she knows I'll take care of her. She said, honey, I know you would. And it has nothing to do with that. She said, but she's my little girl and she needs to come home with me. But then when I was 17, he bought the Circle G and I was up here anyway. So it was it turned okay.
And a lot of times when you went to visit grandma, she lived upstairs, right? And everybody's so curious about the upstairs because it's closed to the public.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what's up there. Of course, you've been up there many, many times.
I have. I mean, when I was 10, grandma lived upstairs, and there was she lived on that back side, I think, well, where Lisa's room is now.
Mhm.
And of course, there was a kind of a Jack and Jill bathroom, and then there was another bedroom on the other side. And then, of course, there was Elvis's quarters down the hallway. But
Right.
yeah, upstairs. And then, then they decided to move her downstairs to what used to be Aunt Gladys and Uncle Vernon's room. And she
Wow.
remained there until she passed away. But yeah, it was just an amazing time. I mean, we all knew Elvis was famous, and but at the same time, you live in this family bubble that's all you see is family. You're not thinking about the people standing down at the gate. I've come in the gates many times, and it'd be so cold and freezing and raining, and girls would be sitting there, icicles hanging off their skirts, just hope of seeing Elvis, But like I said, they're the most loyal fans in the whole world. They're the greatest.
Yeah, he would often go down and visit them at times, right? When he was home, he would go down and visit some of those girls hanging out there. George Klein, I was a friend of mine. I used to work with George on his show called The Elvis Hour, and he would always say, he never saw Elvis turn down an autograph, never saw him turn down taking a picture with someone or shaking a hand. He just loved people and loved the people that supported him.
Yeah, absolutely, he did. And never did he ever turn down either one of those. He said, someone asked him sometimes, so what does it bother you when people ask you for an autograph? And he said, what will bother me is when they stop asking for an autograph.
Sure.
And he moved around a lot at nighttime, right? Because of course he would get bombarded during the day, so his best time to move around Memphis was at night, right?
Yeah. I used to jokingly say that, he lived like a vampire because he only came out at night. But yeah, it was just easier. He could go to Liberty Land, or he could rent the movies, or he could go to, the malls after they were closed, because otherwise it would have been pandemonium,
Sure. Yeah.
And so, in respect for all the owners of the businesses and also, I guess, to protect everyone else, it was, he would do that.
Yeah. Tom Payton, go ahead.
Yeah, Donna, one of the stories I loved in the book was the woman who confronted Priscilla in the grocery store.
Uh-huh.
Can you share that story with us about the woman who confronted Priscilla in the grocery store?
Well, I think she said something, if it's a story I'm thinking about, that said something about, she didn't like what Priscilla was wearing.
Exactly.
And she said, you're Elvis's girlfriend or wife.
Exactly.
She said, you shouldn't be wearing that,
Oh, wow.
Isn't that wild, Jimmy? Yeah. The woman approached her and said, you're Elvis's wife. You shouldn't be wearing that.
You shouldn't be dressed like that.
It was so funny.
But, like there and again, there's just so much love from for Elvis, and Elvis just loved and adored them as well, and was so appreciative and so for him. And, he was so afraid, when he was drafted into the service. Of course, he wanted to do, he could have gotten on with, USO or something and had a cushy job, but he didn't want to do it that way. He said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it as every other soldier. And he garnered the respect of all the men that he was with, that they respected him and liked him for that. And he wanted to do it right. But, he was so afraid that, I might lose out, my fan popularity, my fan base. But no, they didn't. They were there from the beginning to the end, and they're still there. 48 years, it's been 48 years now, and they're still there. And it just grows and grows from 2 to 92. So you can't. Yeah.
And he's more popular today than ever. Which is amazing.
Yes.
Telling you, but you know what? I'll tell you a story that shows you how Elvis has touched people, and in the fact that, and he's still touching people. I got a notice from a friend of mine on Facebook, and she was telling me, she said, I was 7 years old the first time that I ever heard Elvis's music. And she said, I was living in Poland. She was born there. And she said, I was in Poland. And it touched me so greatly that I wanted to learn English so that I could find out what he was saying. She said, my mother knew a little bit of English, so she taught me what she knew, but we were banned to learn English at that time.
Right.
She said, then, of course, they lifted the ban and they could learn English. And so she said, I went on to school, I learned English, went on to university, and now I'm teaching English to others. And she said that changed the trajectory of my life. That song that she heard. And I thought, wow, what an amazing story that is, that how Elvis, even 48 years after his death, is still touching people and still making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah. The very first time that you realized that Elvis was really famous, say, hey, I really have this famous cousin. You tell a story about a little girl in school. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I was 4 years old when Elvis actually started, so I was born in 50. But, my whole life he's been famous that I can remember. But I was in the 5th grade, and I was sitting in the cafeteria, and this girl comes over to me, and she has her milk carton in her hand, and she says, someone told me that you're related to Elvis Presley. Is that true? And I said, yes, it is. And she said, will you touch my milk carton? Why? She says, because you have the same DNA and the same blood that Elvis has. Mm-hmm. And you're as close as I'm ever going to get. And so I said, okay. So I touched her milk carton. I knew then he was huge.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the beginning. Coming up in a few months, Christmas is going to be here. And of course, you got to spend Christmas at Graceland.
Right.
You got to spend some time with him in the music room, right? Singing those Christmas carols. Tell us about that. That had to be unbelievable. What did he like to sing? What were some of his favorite Christmas carols?
Well, he loved gospel and he loved Christmas. So, just anything that had to do with either one. I mean, most of the time when he was at Graceland, unless you asked for a particular song, he would sing gospel. And then at Christmas time, of course, he sang Christmas songs. But, he loved all the Christmas songs, all of them. White Christmas, all those things, Blue Christmas, everything. He just loved them all. Yeah. And, that was his favorite time of year. He loved giving. Nothing made him happier than when he was giving to other people. So, it was an amazing time. The only hard part about it is trying to buy a Christmas present for Elvis.
Yeah,
I could imagine. Yeah, because he had everything. So what do you give the guy who has everything?
That's true. But, Mom and Dad, he loved these silk pajamas that you could buy at Goldsmiths at that time. So they'd buy pajamas or they'd buy something, else that felt like he could use in his bedroom or bathroom or whatever. So things like that would mean something to him. But, yeah.
Wow. That was his favorite holiday, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Christmas.
Yeah.
It's mine, too. I mean, I have to say I love Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
People seem to just be in a better mood and there seem to be more kind and more loving and more generous at that time than they do at any other time of year. So it's just a great time of year to be around.
How often do you get back to Graceland these days?
Well, I get there on if I'm not in another country, I'm there during Elvis week. A lot of times the birthday celebration, but that's about the only time I really get there. I am traveling quite a bit and doing different things. And so, that's about it. But I always try to, if I'm home during August, Elvis week, then I always try to walk up with the fans at Elvis, at the vigil.
So awesome. You were just in Germany. Tell us about that not too long ago, right? I mean, you have some great pictures of you with the Elvis statue. Tell us about that great picture. He looks like he's kissing you, right?
I know, right? I didn't realize at the time that was going to work out that way, but sometimes I went on the tour, The Footsteps of Elvis in Bad Nauheim, and went to the places that he, where he lived, during that time and where he went and, things like that. And so I would try to take pictures, in the same spots that he had pictures made, and which was great. And then when I went to the statue, I was standing there and I was just, looking out at whoever was taking the picture. A friend of mine, Andy, was taking it. Right. And, didn't realize it until I saw the picture that it looks like he's kissing the top of my
He
head.
does. I've seen the picture. It looks exactly like he's kissing your head.
The funny thing is when I was, when he was alive and all, that generally when he saw me, he would either pat me on the head or kiss me on top of the head. So it kind of was fitting, that it ended up that way. So yeah, it was awesome.
There's a lot of people listening right now. Brad Siegel's out there, and he wants to, he's mentioning Elvis songs. He wants to know what's your favorite Elvis song?
What's my favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's hard to say because there's so many. But I mean, if it's gospel, it has to be How Great Thou Art. That's my favorite gospel.
Okay.
I love all of them. But, I like the more obscure songs, like Indescribably Blue, Just Ask Me, things like that. They're not as well, they're not as well known or played on the radio as much as a lot of the others. But those are a couple of my favorites. And Never Ending, I love that. So, no one can sing a song like that like Elvis.
And you actually sing. You've done performances, right? Tell us about that.
That's cool.
It's funny. I just started doing that just a few years ago. And I said, well, I don't sing. They said, sure you do. So anyway, I started singing when I went for the first time to Sweden.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Peter Ujeski just a few years ago. And they said,
Right.
no, you got to sing with us, So I started, we did 3 Elvis songs and the people loved it. So now I do it quite a bit more now. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I know you do a lot of cruises, right? You like doing cruises. I know you got a lot coming up. Your calendar is pretty full coming up in the next couple of months.
Wow.
That's true. I mean, what's not to like about a cruise,
Yeah.
It's fun, and I'll be on a cruise with Dennis Gell, and I work with Dennis a lot. He's in Austria, and we work in Austria and Germany quite a bit.
Right.
Fantastic singer, and a great guy. And so, he puts together these cruises, and I'll be on the cruise in October actually with Sam Thompson, Glendy Harden, Paul Lime, Donna Rhodes Morris, and Ginger Holiday. They sang backup with Elvis on like Suspicious Mind in the Ghetto, like that. So and we become a huge family, and it's awesome. It's just great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you've done cruises with Linda Thompson too, right?
Yes, I have.
Linda's great. I met her 2 years ago when I was down in Memphis for the Elvis Week, where I actually met you very briefly as well. It's always so fun to meet all you guys that knew Elvis and so close to him, the family and the friends. Such a big highlight of being down in Memphis for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, she's a lovely woman. She really is. I really like Linda.
And I know when you were growing up at Graceland, when you stayed there, you hung out with Priscilla. Tell us about hanging out with Priscilla. What do you guys do?
Well, it's funny because, when we were younger, I've known Priscilla since I was just a teenager.
Yes.
Before she and Elvis got married or anything, she and I would hang out and go places and do things. And we'd go to Liberty Land. And I remember one night we went to Liberty Land, and she wanted this thing that went around. And I don't remember what the name of it was, but it went around and around really, really fast. And so sick. Everywhere, but then we would do all kinds of things, and I remember one Sunday we decided we would go to each other's church because she was raised Catholic. I was the Assembly of God, so I had never been in a Catholic church. So we went to Immaculate Conception there in Memphis, and we went in and sat down, and I'm looking around, I thought, oh, this is really cool. They got a footstool. I thought, oh, wow, this is cool. They got a foot. She said, it's not a footstool. It's a kneeling bench.
She actually graduated from there, right? She graduated school from Immaculate Conception in Memphis.
Yeah, and then we went to my church, which was Assembly of God, and we sat on the back row and everything, and we were in Assembly of God. You're clapping, you're singing, and all that, which was all new to her because Catholic Church is very very reserved and so
right.
But she enjoyed it, and I enjoyed going to her church. And I remember that particular Sunday we were sitting on the back row, and there were some guys just down the pew from us.
Right.
And one of them sent her a note and said, hi, my name is whatever, and he said, I want to know if you'd like to go to the movies with me Friday night.
Oh.
And so she sent back a note. She said, well, thank you, but I'm seeing someone. he sent the note back. Well, on the way home, we laughed because I said, "Can you imagine if he just knew who you were seeing?"
Yeah,
Probably not
exactly.
anyway.
Unbelievable. Tom Payton, go ahead.
Yeah, Donna, one of the things I remember reading in your book, and it made me sad, was when Vernon had to experience these TV evangelists
Mhm.
who were making such distasteful and, in my mind, unchristian comments about
Yes.
Elvis. Saying things like Elvis died because he caused too many problems for people, and he was disrespectful, and he's not in heaven. And I mean, this is just insane. And poor Vernon had to watch that and listen to that. I mean, it must have been so painful.
It was horrible for Uncle Vernon. It was horrible for all of us.
Yeah.
Because I have been in church my entire life, and not once have I ever seen Elvis's name in the Bible. So I think when you're in the pulpit, you're supposed to teach the Bible, and I've never seen Elvis's name in the Bible, so they shouldn't be talking about.
Exactly.
They're talking about someone they have no idea who he was.
Yeah.
Or what he was about. And for them to say these horrible and horrific and unkind and unchristian remarks, it was terribly wrong. And I remember even several years after Elvis's, all my family was gone. I'd gone to church one day and I was sitting there, and this minister got up and said something, really unkind about Elvis. I got up and walked out, and I never entered that church again, because I thought, you're doing the wrong. You're supposed to be teaching Christ and love and forgiveness and happiness and so forth, and not talking about someone that you don't even know.
Right.
It's amazing when these people get this information.
Yes, I mean, the stories and all that we read and all the remarks that are still going on today, it's very painful, it's very hurtful, and it's very, very unkind and wrong for people to say these things.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
Elvis has touched millions all across the world, and in a good way, and he's still changing lives in a great way today. And that's what he should be remembered and loved for, and not all this negative things. I don't get involved in that.
He did so much good, and there's so much healing in his voice and in his music, and he touches people every day and gets them through a lot of rough times. And there's just so much about Elvis, and people that never even met him or knew him, but they feel that presence, they feel that charisma come right through the songs.
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. And like I said, he was an ordinary man, but touched by God to do extraordinary things. And I've always said, and I maintain this, and I will till the day I die, Elvis was a vessel used by God.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a true gift from God. And talking about that persona and that charisma, they often say, you could feel his presence when he walked into a room. Like he'd be in Vegas, there'd be tons of celebrities, but he'd walk in a room and everybody would stop.
Exactly.
Feel that presence. Tell us about that, Don. I'm sure you experienced it many times in person.
Many times. I mean, you could feel him. I mean, if he walked into the room, even if you had your back to him, it was like the hair would stand up on the back of your neck. I mean, he just had this tremendous charisma and presence. And, you could just feel it all over the place. And even today, and he's been gone so many years, I still feel that at times.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I've experienced it many times. I was telling you, more so, of course, it's at Graceland, but of course, I've experienced it in Las Vegas at the Hilton, which is now the Westgate, and around Vegas. Certain things have happened to me, which I really knew that he was there and experienced his presence. And I know you've had a lot of experiences yourself.
Oh, I have. And, just a few weeks ago, I was at the Westgate, and I went, and they were showing us around the theater and all, and where he stood to pray. We went out, and there again speaks volumes, because he stood to pray every time he walked down on stage. He prayed first.
Yeah, absolutely.
The guys that were there, they were breaking down some equipment and so forth, and I went over and said hello to them and all, and they were telling me stories about how they feel him. They just know he's there in the theater with them. And that they felt, and so it was an amazing thing, and he's still doing that today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a strong presence for sure in that Westgate, for sure, 100%. As I experienced it there, and of course other places in Vegas as well. But it's amazing. I mean, he's still there. He's still around.
Absolutely. And it's like I say, Elvis will remain alive forever as long as he's And you know, he's touched so many people and made such a difference in everybody's lives and all over the world. And in doing so, you know, you just keep that going, and he will, in our hearts, he will never be gone. He will never die. He'll
Right.
always be with us. So
Yeah.
that's good. And that right there is quite a legacy right there.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely, 100%. Tell us something about Elvis that most people don't know.
Oh, geez. Let's see. Well, I told you one, you know, about
You did. I mean, you've told us a lot, actually, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something else.
I mean, he was very loving. He was very kind. He was very, you know, he could be very emotional. I'll give you an example. I had gone over to visit our grandmother one day, and I had my 3-month-old son with me. And I had laid my son on the bed, and I was sitting there beside Grandma, and I was talking to her. And in a little while, Elvis and Linda Thompson came in. They had been out the swimming pool. And so, you know, Elvis walks in, you know, his hair's tousled and he's got on a robe and swim trunks. They still look like a Greek god. He walks over and he passed me on the head. Hey, Donnie, how you doing? I said, I'm fine, Elvis. And he looks at the bed and he said, oh, who is this? And I said, that's my son. And he said, can I pick him up? And I said, well, of course you can. So he picks him up and he takes him over and he's bouncing him on his knee and kissing him on the back of the neck. And I used to keep a little cap on my son because his hair was real fine, thick, straight, looked like he stuck his finger in a light socket. And that little cap fell off, and Elvis started laughing because that hair went straight up immediately. And he looked at me and said, you know what? I'm going to call you Little Elmer Fudd, because he had a nickname for everybody. So Stacy was going to be Little Elmer Fudd. So, you know, he was playing with him and stuff. And he said, well, what's his name? And I said, Stacy Aaron. And he just stopped. I mean, he was in the middle of playing with him and he just stopped. And he looked at me and he said, Aaron? And I said, yes, that's my name. I know that. I named him after you. And tears welled up in his eyes.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, and he didn't want to get emotional because, I mean, it meant so much to him that I would think so highly of him that I would name my firstborn after him.
Yeah.
And he looks down at Stacy, and to show you his mindset always and the way he felt about family, he looked at my 3-month-old son and he said, well, Stacy, when you get to be 18, you come see your old cousin. I'll put you to work.
How cool is that? Very nice. Tom Payton.
Last long, but you know, I mean, because you know, Elvis passed away when my son was 4.5. But you know, it was just that was his mindset. It's always be around, always take care of family, and you know. Well, I'll tell you one more.
Sure.
Anyway, when I was 19, I was engaged to a young man, and I know 19. What was I thinking? But I took him over to Graceland because I was going to introduce him to our grandmother. And so Elvis, we were sitting out in the jungle room, and Elvis walked in. And he walked over to me and patted me on the head. Hey, Donnie. I said, hey, Elvis, you know. And he said, so who is this? And I said, this is my fiance. He looked, fiance? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, and he stuck out his hand and said, hey, I'm Elvis Presley. And, you know, the guy said, you know, hi. I'm, you know, his name. I won't mention his name. But anyway, so he's talking, and Elvis looks at him. He says, so tell me, when are you and Donnie getting married? And I know the guy meant it as a joke. Okay?
Right.
But it didn't work out that way. So he says, when she can support me unto the style which I've grown accustomed.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that this is not going to end well.
Of course.
Yeah. Right.
You know, saw this muscle twitching, you know, and you know, clenching his teeth, you know, and
Right.
so he goes, nice to meet you, and turns around and walks out and goes straight to Grandma's room.
Oh boy.
You know, I'm sitting there, he's talking, I'm thinking, oh geez, oh wow, you know. So anyway, I take him on into Grandma's room a little while later, and we talk for a little bit, and then I go back home. Well, the next morning I get a phone call. Come to Graceland. Well, I walk really, really slow because I know. And I go in our grandmother's room and sit down, and she said, well, sit down. She said, Elvis wanted me to tell you something, and said he would have told you himself, but he was afraid to make you cry, and he didn't want to hurt your feelings. He didn't want to see you cry. So he said, she said, Elvis said, you can't marry him. And I said, he did. And she said, yeah. I said, he's not good enough for you. He said that Elvis was really, really upset and saying a lot of things and a lot of expletives. And I said, I don't care what I have to do. I'm not going to let her marry that guy, no matter what I do. So anyway, a couple of weeks later, I broke up with him because I thought Elvis knows a whole lot more. He's lived a lot more life than I do, and he's seen a lot more than I do. So I broke up with him. But yeah, I just wish he'd been around for some of my other relationships.
Exactly.
That's great.
But that just, it just tells you how he felt about family, how loving and caring and protective he was of all of us.
Mm-hmm. We're told he was a great practical joker too.
Yeah.
He loved playing. Can you share maybe some of the practical jokes he loved sharing on,
Well, I mean, he would shoot, like he and the guys would play, with water guns and things like that. Or, he wanted Grandma to see a new horse he'd bought.
Right.
Well, Grandma wasn't feeling well. So anyway, he just takes the horse inside, and of course the horse doesn't realize it's not outside and goes to the bathroom. And, my grandmother said, get out of here.
Wow.
So that was just the kind of person that he was. He loved, having fun. And he said, when something ceases to be fun, I'll cease doing it.
Right.
And,
That's a great philosophy.
And I mean, I remember one of the guys was telling me that one day they were sitting out in the jungle room and they were talking.
Sure.
Well, the back of Graceland is all glass. And my mom was walking down the sidewalk, in view of those windows.
Mm-hmm.
So she was going around to come in to the door. Well, Elvis was standing, he was sitting on the side where he could see outside. And he said, well, here comes Aunt Nash. I'm fixing to pay for every sin I ever committed. He said, she just has this way of looking into you, knowing you've done something. And Sam Thompson told me, he said, we were laughing about that one day. And he said, that even when we were on tour, if he did something he didn't think that your mom would approve of, he'd say, I sure hope Aunt Nash doesn't hear about this.
Wow. You talk about the Jungle Room. Of course, so many people know it as the Jungle Room. When Elvis was alive, it was not the Jungle Room, right? It was the den, or what did he call it?
It was the den. Of course, it became the Jungle Room when he went out and bought that that furniture and all. And I remember that I can't remember the name of the store.
Right.
But anyway, my uncle Vernon had gone in there and he said, now who would buy this stuff? Well, and of course, well, now I know. But it kind of looked like Amazon kind of, jungle look, so it just became just a natural thing. It became the Jungle Room, and it had the rock wall with the waterfall and all that. So
yeah, remind him of Hawaii, right? He loved Hawaii, right? The vacation there. Yeah.
Loved tropics. So yeah, absolutely.
And I love when he recorded that album there. He put the rug on the ceiling and the wall, which is so awesome.
Yes, yeah. I remember. Of course, I didn't stay up late at night like he did. But all the guys were there, and of course, I remember all the 18-wheelers and all the the cables and stuff running everywhere and the equipment everywhere. So yeah, that was something else to see.
Yeah, I mean, I know Memphis is a go to bed early town for most people, but not for Elvis.
I went to bed. I didn't stay up for anybody. Not that late anyway.
Exactly. So many people listening. Debbie wants to say hello from Kansas. So she's listening right now. So many people out there. Steve, Noreen is out there. He wants to say hello. So many great people listening to the show.
Thanks for joining in, and I'm hoping you're enjoying yourself and you're learning a little more about Elvis and the family.
Yeah, make sure everybody goes out and picks up these great books that Donna has. DonnaPresley.com. Is that right?
That's it, right. Absolutely.
And and will you autograph them as well if people buy them?
Autograph them, absolutely. They just tell me how they want them autographed, who they want them signed to, and I'll do that. And I just started a new YouTube channel. It's Donna Presley Official. So
oh, wow. Great.
Oh, great. Yeah. And then you need more subscribers. So everybody please subscribe.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Be wonderful.
Awesome.
We'll just keep continuing the legacy.
That's
Of
right.
course. And you do such a great job of it, of course.
Well,
You know.
thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Donna Presley, for joining us. I appreciate it
thank you,
so
Donna.
much. We learned so much about Elvis and so much about yourself. You're also an actress, right? You've done stuff, The Gaslight Killer,
Yes.
Detective Casey in that. You do so much. I mean, there's so much. And you're on the board for so many great organizations. Tell us a little bit about that, some of the organizations that you're on the board for.
Well, I'm on the board of Choosing to Live, and it's about suicide prevention because we want you to be able to, we want to give you the tools to pick up the phone, to call for help instead of, doing something you shouldn't do, and end up like that, with committing suicide. And with the fact that Benjamin did that, I think it's so important to know that there are tools out there, and there are a lot of people that suffer from that same thing. Then I'm on the board of Anthem, and it's just, joining nations together and healing and teaching through music. And then there's Mississippi Music Foundation, which is founded by a good friend of mine, that he's just helping musicians all over the world. And it started out in Mississippi, and of course Elvis was born in Mississippi, so that how I became a part of it. But now it's extended to international, and it helps musicians all over the world and helps young people, to be able to get lessons and things like that. So it's an amazing,
great
foundation.
You do such wonderful work. How often do you get back to Tupelo?
I don't get there very often, unfortunately. It's been a couple of years since I've been there, but it's a fabulous place. And, knowing that not only Elvis, but my mom, was born there and grew up there. And it's a wonderful place. And I'm so glad to see it thriving so well.
Yeah. I mean, what did Elvis think about Tupelo? I mean, did they preserve that house when he was alive? Was that already preserved? The house that he was born in?
Yeah, I think it was preserved, at that time. Of course, he would go back there sometimes and just, ride around the town and so forth.
Wow.
I'd grown because, your hometown, you always remember that and so forth. But, then of course he adopted Memphis as his real, his hometown. Right. So it became all about Memphis then. But I'm so glad that Tupelo is getting the attention and all that they deserve.
Yeah, a beautiful place. I've been there. It's just wonderful. Great place to visit.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Donna Presley, thank you so much for all your time. I appreciate all the time you took out to talk to us. You're always welcome here. Anything you want to promote, please call me. Let me know. We'd love to have you back on. I can talk to you for hours. You know that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're great. I've had so much fun, and it's just like sitting here talking to a couple of really good old friends. So
thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Also, before I let you go, would you do an ID for me? Say, hey, this is Donna Presley. You're listening to Jimmy Deal on Celebrity Spotlight.
Hi, this is Donna Presley, and you're listening to my good friend Jimmy Deal on Celebrity Spotlight. You want to tune in all the time.
Thank you so much, Donna. You're the best. Fantastic. Tom Payton, any final thoughts for Donna Presley?
Well, Donna, I just want you to know, a few months ago, Jimmy and I interviewed a Roman Catholic deacon, and he is an Elvis tribute artist.
Oh,
with the amazing, we both went to see him one night when he was performing, and it's amazing because he uses Elvis's words and music in his ministry.
Yes, he does. Yeah,
I'd be so proud.
Wonderful.
That's awesome. That is good to know. That's fantastic. Well, like I said, Elvis touched people all over the world.
Yeah.
He saw, he broke every barrier, and
Yes, he did.
Smaller, better world for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they call him Deacon Elvis, Anthony Ligori Jr. He's so fantastic. He does shows all over the tri-state area in New York and New Jersey. A fantastic guy, and he really promotes Elvis in a great light for sure.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. That's wonderful.
That's
Elvis
great.
is so proud.
Well, thank you so much, Donna. I appreciate your time, and please come back, hang out with us again. I can't wait to come down and meet you down in Memphis.
Yeah.
I will, and we're going to get that picture together.
I can't wait for that. I'm looking so forward to that. I'm so sorry it didn't happen like when I saw you last time, but it was nighttime and it was quick and it was after the show. But I got to talk to you at least.
It's been fun, you guys. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Donna. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, Donna. Have a great night. Okay.
Thanks. You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Donna. All right.
Oh,
Tom Payton, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. What's going on, Tom? Did you enjoy the show?
Oh, Jimmy, this was so wonderful. It really was. I mean, we could talk to her for hours.
Absolutely. I could spend like 3 hours with Donna Presley. I mean, she's so fantastic. Absolutely.
I want to plug it again. This book is fantastic. If you can get your hands on it.
Yeah, give us the name of the book, Tom, and again, and
it's called Elvis: The Life He Lived, the Family He Loved, the Day He Died. It's by Donna Presley Early, Edie Hand with Lynn Edge. So
cool. And that's available also on Amazon, I believe. And also the book that I have, this book is fantastic. Please pick this up. The Presley Family and Friends Cookbook. It's such a great book, such great stories. Donna has some fantastic stories in here, and some great recipes.
Amazing.
So please pick that up. It's available also on Amazon, and DonnaPresley.com is where you can get her brand new book that she re-released, and a lot of other products that she has on her website as well, DonnaPresley.com, and she'll autograph her books for you, which is so awesome. So,
we got a lot of great listeners tonight too, Jimmy.
Yeah, go through these listeners, Tom. Who do we have listening?
We have Steve Narain. I hope I'm pronouncing his name properly. And
Okay.
we got Brad Siegel, Team Stiegel. And then we've got Debbie Pelfrey from Kansas. Thank you, Debbie, for listening in. Big fan of Elvis. Her mother turned her on to Elvis.
Mhm.
And then Cindy's out there. And I don't see anybody else. There's probably others who are out there probably listening in. Your mom, my granddaughter is listening in tonight.
Oh, really? Hello.
Over in New Hampshire, Leah. Shout out to Leah. A good
Wow.
friend, Todd Bazzini, buddy of mine for many years. He's listening in as well.
Mhm.
Let's see. Anybody else, Jim, you got there?
I know Frank D'Elia. I used to work with him at WABC Radio and WPLJ. Frank D'Elia's out there, a good friend of mine. So welcome to the show, Frank. Judy Norton, I know her from my hometown, Canarsie. She's out there. Brad Siegel, of course, Team Siegel.
Yep.
Carol Tambaro is out there. Hey, Carol, thank you so much for listening. Debbie, of course, Debbie is out in Kansas. She listens to the show all the time. My friend Steve, as you mentioned, is out there. So many great people that listen to the show every week. My mom in Brooklyn, of course. And of course, Cindy, the producer, is actually working at her other job tonight. She wasn't able to join us, but I know she's out there.
Right.
She always does a great job for us and letting us know what's going on and who is on the show. Coming up on the show, we have the Canarsie Reunion show coming up, and it's going to be sometime in September. I'll keep you informed about that. It's going to be September 27th at the Richmond Republic. It's in Staten Island. It's a big Canarsie reunion. It's DJ Al is going to be the disc jockey, along with DJ Al Gee. Also, Strife will be the performer. I'm going to be bringing him out on stage. Of course, he had that great club hit back in the day, Set It Off, and we are going to set it off that night for sure. I hope everybody could join us in Staten Island, September 27th. Richmond Republic, please make every effort to come out and join us. It's going to be a great time. So many more great people, too, on the show. I know I met Cherry Curry yesterday, and she's from the group The Runaways. Of course, you remember the famous group The Runaways with Joan Jett at the time? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she wants to come on the show. She's a little bit busy in the next few months, but she's going to join us probably in 2026. But we have a lot of people on deck who want to do the show, so we're working on that. It's a lot of great people coming up on Celebrity Spotlight. I'll keep you posted on Celebrity Spotlight on Facebook.
That'll be great.
Let everybody know who's coming on and what's going on with the show. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. Have a fantastic Labor Day weekend. You believe it's Labor Day weekend?
It's hard. The summer's over, Jim. Unbelievable. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We'll check you out in a couple of weeks. I'll keep you informed on Facebook.